greetings, good evening, or everything in between. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing here, what I'm saying. Welcome, hello. We're gonna talk about Tower Lord by Anthony Ryan. It's been a while since we looked at the first book, which was Bloodsong. My problem with reading these books for reviewing on the channel is just the thickness. These are some thick boys. Like 600 pages or so. It's kind of the same as the dwarves, except for the dwarves, I don't know, for some weird reason they have a bit of a sweeter spot. I don't know, maybe it's something. Let's just zoom it out just a little bit. There we go, that's better. Maybe the dwarves have a bit of a sweeter spot, I don't know. But anyways, this is a bit of a contentious one. Bloodsong, I absolutely love. I think it is one of the best fantasy books ever written. It is absolutely amazing, and I think most people agree on that. And then we had this one and the next one, which are both kind of like a red-haired stepchild. They're kind of weird, kind of awkward, but let's talk about this one. So on the story graph, which is what I use instead of Goodreads, it has 4,000 reviews, giving it a 4 as 4.03, so a 4. That's pretty respectable when you think about this is a 10-12 year old book, and the story graph has a small audience, so it's gonna skew out more towards newer books. I think that's pretty good. Pace, about 60% have said it is a medium and 25% have said it's slow paced. I would agree on that. I think a lot is going on, so it can't really slow down too much. So yeah. Is it plot or character driven? Again, 64% says a mix, and the remaining, and then 26% of those, of the remaining, says it's plot. And do I agree? Yeah, I kind of do, because for most of this here, it's the plot driving it. But Valen, for instance, is very much in the beginning himself, and Frentis becomes himself driving. Yeah, I would agree. Do we look at strong character development? 77% says yes, I am among those 77%. Are the characters lovable? And 67 says yes, and 21% says complicated, and the remaining say no. I love the characters, but I can definitely see, I'm talking the main characters, so Luna, Valen, Frentis, and there's one more, isn't there? Riva. I can definitely see why you would not enjoy it. Are the characters diverse? 70% says yes, 15 says no. I would agree, they are diverse. There are many different characters befitting of this world. And are the flaws of the main character in focus in nearly a perfect 30-30-40 split between yes, complicated, and no? And I agree in some. I think it's complicated is basically like what is then the runaway answer here, because yes, character flaws are a part of it. Is it the story? No. There we go. Alright. So, let's talk about the cover here. The cover is Valen, and it's a boring cover, and it does, like, what it has going for it though, which I do love, is we just have the title and Anthony Ryan, and then we have a blurb to sell the book. But even then, that's it. It's very minimal, like, taking away. There's not a lot of filigree, not a lot of quotes, New York Times bestseller, all that stuff. It's not there. It's just here. And then we have like all the other stuff that we would usually find, and we would have a lot of information here. But you know, here we kept it, and I love that. Even if I think the cover picture of Valen is very boring, I still think the fact that it was kept to a minimal is perfect. Now, let's talk about this book. So, Fans of Anthony Ryan will probably agree that this is a bit of a weird one compared to the previous book. The previous book we got to follow Valen and we stuck to Valen and that was it. Now we have multiple POVs, we have 4. So beforehand a lot of stuff did happen off, like outside of Valen's POV, but we did not see it unless Valen were seeing it or told about it. Now we see a lot of things that is not like Valen per se, and it's both good and bad, is my answer. So the first one we can talk about here is the Frentis storyline. Frentis goes from being a slave owned by a woman to being free when she dies, killed by him. I absolutely hated his storyline. I think it was so boring, so annoying. I don't know, it was just not a lot of fun. It was not a lot of interest. It was just, please move on. I think Frentis is an interesting character, but I think, and this is a thing for all of the main characters outside of Valen, is they're developed in a way that makes them really good, like NPCs or side characters, but for POV I feel like they were a bit underdeveloped already. So then Anthony Ryan would have to spend time developing these characters up, but we don't have the time. So really it's hard to say how would you do this differently than what has been done, but it's just not the best option that was done, I guess is the answer. So I did not like Frentis' story. I think it was boring. I think it was annoying reading about the lady controlling him and all of that. I just, every time we got to a chapter with him, I was like, how many pages do I have to read to move on? Moving on, let's talk about Leona. We're taking it in order of what I liked. Leona's story is probably the one I think took the most drastic turn, going from a diplomatic mission to them being a slave to then coming home and announcing herself to be the queen. And I don't know, I think the first part of her was really interesting because we got to learn more of these northern tribes people that that we've just been warring against. Now we get to learn a bit more their culture. We get what I feel like, I know they're calling sister to each other and stuff, but I have a feeling we're gonna have a budding lesbian romance going on. Actually probably not, given how the lady she travels with, I don't remember her name, falls in love with another guy, so maybe not, but maybe. But anyways, at least we got some character development, we got some interesting dynamic, we got to learn some new stuff. I liked that a lot. I thought that was really, really interesting. And then she became a slave and all of that stuff on the island of Shield or whatever they were called, and it was just blah. It was not at all what I was hoping. It was just, it slowed down. I don't know. I think it would have been more epic if I don't even know what I think. I liked it more than Frentis, but I was not a big fan either of that. And then we have Riva, and Riva's the new character. I think she was I loved her part when she was like being tutored by Valen. I thought that was really interesting and really fun to see him trying to teach some of what he knew onto her, but still differently from how he was taught it in a more humane way. And it was fun to see her slowly loosening up, slowly acknowledging maybe her fanatical view on the world might not be the best. And I don't know, I thought it was great. I really enjoyed that part. And then we got her travels and the beginning of being with her uncle, and It was fine. It was better than both Lena and Francis. It was definitely a breath of fresh air. It was on its own. It was, I guess, fine. But when the siege happened and she got to really show off, I thought that was awesome. It was great seeing how she's basically a mini Valen, but in nature too. And it was just so much fun. And it was so interesting, and how she went against all rules and going, we need to save people, we need to protect people, blah, blah, blah. It was so great. So yeah, absolutely wonderful. And now we get to the man, the myth, the legend, Valen Elzorna, our main character. And oh boy, every time we had anything with him, I was like, damn boy, this is awesome. This is just chef kiss. I think Valen is such an interesting character. I loved the struggles he's going through with should he or should he not what's it called, like battle fight and all of that, like the internal fights he has about that. I think it's so interesting. I think him working with his sister, I would have loved to see more of her. That would have been so much more fun, seeing how she would develop and how she did develop into more. I loved how he is acutely aware that he is leading by fear, whereas literally his second in command could, if she wanted, probably take over the entire army just by saying, hey guys, let's leave Valen, and everyone just be like, alright, yes queen. It's so great. I think he is such a developed character. He's not going through any real character development in my opinion, but we just get to see him. We get to see him work with what, we get to see him have these internal struggles, not because he is in doubt or anything, but just because he's like, fuck my life, I don't want to do this. And it's a breath of fresh air, there we go, to have a character who's like that, because he knows he's good enough. Anytime someone challenges him to a duel, he's like, dude, I don't need a sword to beat you. I am so much better than you. And the only thing I have to say that is my gripe is he's relying a bit too much on the blood song thing. It's just a bit much. So, I think this is relatively a spoiler-free review. So, let's conclude a bit on this. What should you read this one if you read the first one? I would recommend it. I would definitely say be prepared for not a whiplash, but be prepared for it not being nearly as good as you probably would have wanted, or like the potential of Anthony Ryan. I think that is the thing, is this one is not nearly on par with the first one. It's a good book, it's a really good epic dark fantasy, but compared to the first in the series, it really isn't as good, and that's a shame. It's such a big shame. I would still recommend you read them. It's still a good book, it's still a good story, it adds a lot. A thing I really love is the in between the parts, we get it from the chronicler's POV, and it took me a while to realize what we are seeing there is actually the siege on the castle where Reva is, but seen from the besieger's POV. I thought that was an interesting take, doing that right from the beginning, but not telling us that is what we're seeing. I actually thought it was the siege in the previous book we got to see, but no, it's from this book, and that's awesome. So yeah, definitely. I can't recommend Anthony Ryan enough. I can recommend this one enough. It's not nearly as good as the first, but I think if you're a fan of the first, I think you would enjoy this one. It is not a bad book, but it does falter a little. Now, next time we're gonna be looking in a completely different direction. We're gonna look at the Magic the Gathering Strixhaven Omens of Chaos book that came out by Sean Maguire. So yeah, leave a like, comment and subscribe and they'll be out soon. I will talk to you another time. Bye bye.